Hey everybody, welcome back. This is going to be our AJAX example part 2. Okay, now in the last movie, if you haven't watched it yet, go back and review that one. But we talked about how we're going to use the request.html function of MooTools to create a web gallery that basically will dynamically load in HTML content, much like the Slimbox example did. Okay, so right now, if you haven't done so yet, I do have the request.html folder that we downloaded in the last movie. And inside that, this is simply what I downloaded from the MooTools website. Okay. Now, what I've done, let's close that folder real quick. I've created a new folder, and this is how my site is set up here. Okay. And this is going to be a little different from the example, and I'm going to show you how we're going to modify the script. The script only allows us to load in one external document. So what we're going to have to do is modify that script to allow it to open up to 4 external documents into our web page. Okay, and let's talk through here real quick and see what we've got. I have my index.html file, and I put that up on the root of this folder. And inside that, I have a bunch of other folders that I've set up. The JS folder. I have a gallery folder because I have some thumbnails on my one page, my CSS folder where my style sheet lives, and then I created a new folder here that we haven't done in any of the other movies yet called content. Okay, and in this folder I have 4 HTML documents: bio.html, contact.html, resume, and work. Now these are the 4 files that are going to externally load in to that main index page. So for instance, let's go ahead and look at some of these. Let me open these in TextMate here. Let's take all 4 of them here. Let's select all 4. Let's go down, drop them on TextMate's icon. Okay. Now you can see in here, here's the 4 files. You can see them in the trailer on the left. And when I click on any one of these, notice that they're not complete HTML documents. As I mentioned in the last movie, they don't need to be. They are just simply fragmented HTML documents. And in this case, it's just an H3 tag and some paragraphs. Because these load in to that main HTML document, they don't need to be complete. They just need to be just kind of chunks of HTML because they'll load in. So you don't need a header, you don't need body tags, you don't need any of that stuff set up. You just need basic HTML. And you can look at them. Contact is the same thing. My resume is the same thing. Again, I have lists, I have paragraphs and headers, but nothing else. Here's work. It's just another div, and my thumbnails go in that div. So that's basically how we're going to set those up. It's pretty easy. Okay, now, as far as the other files go, I'm going to open up both folders here. Here's the request.html. Okay, now this is the one I downloaded off of the MooTools website. What you're going to want to do is take the mootools.js folder. Mine's already set up, but if yours is not, copy that into the JS folder. You can see there it is in mine. Okay, and if you go into the request.html folder, you could take the demo.js file and you can copy that into the JS folder also. I've already done that and I've changed the name because we're going to modify the script pretty heavily. So you can copy that over and save it as demo, or I would recommend you change the name to loadcontent.js because we're not going to demo, we're going to actually do some stuff with this. So same file, I've just changed the name and then I've modified the contents of the file, which we'll do in the next podcast. Then over on demo.css, you can create your own, but make sure you have, mine is called styles.css. That file is not required. And then obviously the data.html, we've changed that too. So make sure you have this. Let me go through these each one again and let's review. The JS file, you have loadcontent.js and the mootools.js. Okay, and load content is the demo. You can create your own new file because we're going to change that over. So, but make sure the mootools, you can't copy that. You need to copy that over because writing that from scratch is next to impossible. The gallery folder contains my images that I'm going to use for the gallery section. CSS folder contains my styles.css. And then on the top, my content contains these little fragmented HTML files that are going to load in to the index.html file that I have on the top level. Okay, so review that. If it's confusing, make sure you've got set up, rewind, play this back, whatever you need to do. So we're going to build this out together. Let me open this index.html file. Let's put this into TextMate so you can see how I've set this up because this is very important. Okay. Right now what we're going to do is I just want you to design the way this is going to look. You're going to have a tab navigation. It's going to be comprised of 4 links, and then you're going to have these are the important parts here. Let's look down in the body here. You can see I did these as an unordered list and then styled them to match side by side, but you can see here I have my links. The href is left with a pound sign, the ID, and we'll talk about this when we actually link up the script. This is important, but they're just text links, okay, and that's all they are, and I'll show you what these look like in a second. And then below those I have a div with an ID that I've named loader. Okay, and this is where this dynamic content loads into the browser. So let's go back into Safari for a second, and I'll go ahead and bring this web page back up so you can see what this looks like in the end. Okay, now right off the bat, let's go back to index.html. You can see that the loader is empty. Okay, I could put some content in here if I want, and I probably should in a real application, but because you can see that it's blank when you first go to the web page. It doesn't load any content in until I select one of these links. Now, what it does is when I've actually selected one of these links, it loads the content, but more importantly, let's select another one, I'll show you. It deletes the content that's in there first and then replaces it with the next HTML file. Okay, remember these HTML files are fragmented. They just load into the loader div. Okay, but that's how it works. It's really straightforward, really easy. So the first thing I would do before we hook up the script is just go ahead and design and get this set up, get it looking the way you want with your style sheet and all, and then the last thing we'll do is put it in here. Now, if you want to see what each one of these are going to look like, what you can do is you can simply cut and paste them and put them into this loader div, and that will work locally. You don't need to worry about MooTools at that point. You will need to worry about MooTools when we link up the script. But if you just want to see what they're each going to look like, you can cut and paste them, get them in here, style them, get them looking right, and then cut and paste them and put them into their own separate documents. So anyway, that's the first step of this. It's pretty straightforward. And in the next movie we're going to look at, go ahead and get that done. And in the next day or two here, I'll load up the next two movies, and they're going to contain how the script works, which will be some new stuff. Talking about JavaScript, and then finally how to bring the whole thing together. So I hope this has simplified it a little bit. I hope this makes sense. But basically, get your folder structure set up, go ahead and design what you want the web page to look like, and the only thing you need to design within the limits are you need a navigation with your links, and they don't necessarily have to be in an unordered list. Mine are. They just need to be 4 links. They can be side by side, they can be up and down, whatever. And then you need a second div, and just make sure you give that the ID of loader. And then this is where the content is going to come into. This is where MooTools and JavaScript say, okay, hey, I've got this, I've requested the page of content, I found it, where do I put it? This is where it puts it. So anyway, so all the styles that you do in your style sheet will affect elements that get loaded into that page. So if you have links that load in, or if you have images that load in, they're all going to be affected by the style sheet. So anyway, again, it's handy. You only have to do it once, and then it all dynamically loads in. So go ahead and get that set up, and next time we're going to talk about how to manipulate the script and then finally put it all together. So go ahead and get to work, and I'll see you then.